Hey guys, September 7th, I'm Tony. I'm on a walk today. It all started when a teacher of his brought him to my wife, who was the director of the school, and said he's got this bump on the side of his face. And that started a whirlwind journey of all kinds of emotions. You want to talk about highs and lows. The lows are easy, right? Everybody thinks about the lows. But like the highs of days where scans came out the way we hoped they would, getting to see friends that we hadn't seen in a while, watching Sam do things that he hadn't been able to do for a long time. When I watched him go out there and play soccer in between, he played soccer a couple of seasons, but there was one in particular where he was a shooting star, go Shooting Stars, that was during his biggest, oh my gosh, my brain has stopped, guys. The time when you don't have cancer anymore, or are in between, I don't know. I can't even come up with the word right now. But there's one particular emotion that I want to talk about today. One of the videos that I shot the other day has gotten quite a bit more attention than the rest of them. And it was the one in which we talked about the darker, uglier side, right? How a lot of what people see when it comes to Cancer Awareness Month are cute bald kids, and that we don't share kind of the ugly side. And I have a little confession to make for you guys. That video, I got a lot of props for that video for being open, and it is interesting that I have not felt real open, because that stuff, the dark cancer stuff, and talking about that stuff, that's not what really hurts me right now. I think the darkest thing, any of the current or former cancer parents are going to know this. It's guilt. I think this one's going to be a harder conversation. From the very beginning of Sam's journey with this, there was guilt for me. I'm pretty sure I can speak on my wife's behalf too and say she felt that way too, about certain things. And I mean, it comes in every aspect. In the beginning, and by the way, I know intellectually, logically, that it's dumb, right? Don't get me wrong. You know, I can already see the things coming in. Don't feel guilty. I know. But that doesn't make it go away. When Sam was little, we would, go places, and he slept with white noise on. And so when we were traveling, we'd put him in the pack and play for him to take a nap or go to bed at night. And I'd put my phone down next to him with white noise playing. And I swear to God, when this started, one of my very first thoughts was, what if having a cell phone that close to his head when he was an infant caused cancer in his head? Now, just so you guys know, childhood cancers aren't like adult cancers. There's a lot of adult cancers out there, not all of them, but a lot that are caused by like lifestyle decisions, right? That's not how childhood cancers work. Me putting a cell phone next to my son's head did not cause his neuroblastoma. I don't think they know what causes neuroblastoma. A switch, we're very complicated machines, and when one switch is flipped incorrectly, things can go haywire. So, early on at diagnosis time, there was guilt that came with that. What did we do What did I do to make this happen? And what could I have done differently so that he wouldn't have to be dealing with this? And so that's one form. There's definitely a guilt around, I guess it's around feeling complicit in causing your child pain. And this one came when I had to hold him for like every shot or port access, where I've told you guys before, Sam was a trooper. He, from the very beginning, would go along with whatever was happening. He would steel himself, get ready, and then do his best to participate in his own treatment. But he was also, between a 3 and a 7-year-old kid during that whole time. So sometimes he was just terrified and he didn't want another shot, and we would have to hold him down, or I would have to like wrap up his legs and his arms and hold him down. And again, logically, intellectually, I know that's not something to feel guilty about. But try holding your kid down while they hurt him and see if it doesn't creep in a little bit. You can only repeat to yourself, we have to do this so many times. There's another kind of guilt too that kind of comes through that's less on the medical side. When I found out that Sam was going through this and he had so many tough days, when he's not having a tough day or after a tough day, you want to give him everything. You want to hand him every possible thing that he wants. Whether it's, syrupy pancakes for breakfast, a new toy, syrupy pancakes for lunch, crispy chicken for the 19th time, like things that if it was a normal kid, you'd have to put your foot down at some point and say no. But this is not a normal kid. This is a poor kid who's going through cancer diagnosis. So we'll make an exception this one time. We received some advice early on from a very good friend of ours who was very active in Sam's care. A pediatric oncologist at another hospital. And thank you, Matt, for everything. And one of the things he told me that stuck with me from the very beginning, because I straight asked him, what piece of advice do I need? And he said, listen to me. You guys are going to get through this. Sam is going to get through this. And you're going to have to deal with the child you create on the other side of this. And what he meant by that, I think, basically, was this sounds kind of crass, but don't spoil the kid, Don't put lessons into him that you normally wouldn't, I think is a safer way to say it. Or don't teach him things that you'll have to unteach him later. And that was hard. That was really hard. We tried really hard to live by that. I got a lot of compliments on the relationship that Sam and I had, because, he would listen when I asked him to do stuff. It was a matter of, making sure that he, even if you don't want to do something, you're respectful to the people who are trying to help you while you go through that, and an understanding of kind of, how do you teach a 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old with so many eyes on him that he's still not the center of the universe? He's in the center of mine, right? But how do you keep that person grounded, I guess? And so there were lots of times where we had to say no. Because we told our other daughter no, or we told our other son no, and that came with guilt. The other obvious one is all of the what ifs. This is, I think this is a hard one again, logically, that I know we did everything that we could. When the decisions came up on which way to pursue treatment and how to do that, without fail, we always thought we were making the best choice. And I know that sometimes you can make all the right choices, do your best, work your hardest, have the right team, everything, and still fail. I know, because it happened to us. And the price of that failure was really high. So I was doing research for this for you guys. After the video where we talked about Sam's whole story from like beginning to end, I went back and I looked at I realized almost immediately all the things I forgot. And I went back and I started looking through the medical records, and I came across a page that was a report of a physical, and where the doctor had written notes about how Sam's genetic profiling of his tumor had come back, and it was not genetically amplified in any way. And so we were going to move him from high risk. This was his very first diagnosis when he was 3. We were going to move him from the high risk protocol to the intermediate risk protocol. And so instead of having 5-day long chemo sessions, chemo sessions would only last 3 days. And I can remember us celebrating that and being, excited that it was going to be a little easier on him and on us. And I read that the other day, and it creeped in. What if we don't? What if we'd have just stuck with 5 days? If we had stuck with doing 5-day chemo protocols and delivered just a little more medicine, caused him just a little bit more pain in the upfront, would we have killed this thing in the very beginning? And I know that's not what would have happened. I don't know, I guess some part of me doesn't know. It doesn't matter. But that comes with a lot of guilt. There were other things that, kind of decisions that we made that, and I think this one will be hard to say. I don't know that I say this one out loud, really. There's lots of things that anecdotally may have had a benefit in Sam's case, but I never saw any scientific evidence that was the case. I'll give you this. The first example that comes to mind is eliminating sugar from the diet. So I'm going to screw up the science on this, but there's a thought that the tumor feeds on I shouldn't have tried to do glucose. Thank you, brain. Tumors feed on glucose, 0 sugar diet, and bringing down the glucose levels. Nothing for the tumor to eat. No way for the tumor to survive. That's my basic, very layman understanding of this. And we looked at that. We talked about it. And what we decided was that there was no scientific, no peer-reviewed studies or anything like that we could find. Lots of web pages, but nothing that I would consider concrete or medical that back that up. And so the decision we made was that was an unnecessary step. And of course, it comes with, now, what if it had worked? There's lots of cancer diets out there, and we eat healthy. What if we had just tried one of those instead of saying, we eat healthy enough? And like this stuff didn't end when Sam passed away. This stuff is here riding along with us every single day. And you know, if you're in this fight, or you fought this fight and you feel it, I know it doesn't do any good because people tell me all the time too, but maybe hearing it one more time, you know it's not your fault. You know you made the best decisions that you could with the information that you had available. We had a doctor when we were in New York ask us point blank, why did we allow a surgeon to touch Sam anywhere else other than their hospital? Because rupturing his central nervous system, even accidentally, was the presumption, could have caused his cancer to spread. He doesn't know that I'm going to walk around with that for the rest of my life. He didn't know when he said that it would keep me up some nights, most nights. There's another guilt that comes along too. Try and get y'all out of the sun. There we go. And I think this one, this one is hard. We have a lot of very generous friends. And it was hard for me in the beginning to accept kindness, charity, support from them. In fact, it wasn't really until Sam relapsed the first time that we accepted much of that. People would ask, and I would, as politely as I could, decline for the most part, or at least be ambivalent. I tried not to shut anybody down, but people would ask, how you doing? I'd say, we're doing okay. We got this. Later, I realized that we did have it, but every dollar we were spending on cancer treatments and getting to and from hospitals was money that wasn't going into college accounts, wasn't being saved for family trips and stuff, that it wasn't going into the normal family stuff. And so there are charities and organizations designed to help kids fight cancer. There's not really charities and organizations designed to help get the kids through school and do the normal stuff that we should be responsible for. And so that someone had that conversation with me, and that really helped. But that's not to say that I don't feel like I'll be repaying a debt for the rest of my life to a lot of people. And repay is not the right word, right? Because we're not going to pay it back. We're going to pay it forward. But it comes with the territory, I guess. And I know there's a lot of you right now who supported us and continue to do so, and you're supporting this cause that I'm walking around for right now. And you're kind of shaking your heads. But again, logically, I know there's no reason to feel guilty about accepting any kind of help like that, but it's still there. And the last one I think we'll talk about, because we're gonna make it here, our 3/4 of a mile. I think it's a flavor of survivor guilt, right? Actually, I guess there's two more. I look around and I watch kids playing and running and doing stuff in the neighborhood, and he's not there. And it makes me feel bad for doing these things without him being there to do them too. And I know we'll always miss him. And from what I understand, that kind of feeling might fade. But it's not faded yet. There's always a, man, he would have loved this, that comes along that makes it harder to do all the stuff that we love to do. And then there's, okay, this is the last one. It's been, gosh, coming up on 8 months since Sam passed away. And, there's now a day that sneaks in every once in a while where, I don't know if it's a whole day, but there's time periods that slip in where I don't think about him. I'm busy being back to work and getting kids to school and working on stuff around the house, and he's not there. And then I realize that I didn't think about him today, or we did something and we didn't think about him. And then the feeling of loss comes, and with the loss comes the guilt and feeling like you forgot about him. That's, I think, harder for us to talk about. And it is for me anyway, than the dark side of the cancer stuff. That's right. It's more personal. I'm a mess. Listen, guys, I'm out here walking 30 days this September for Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, crying most days. And I'm doing this. I'm not doing this just for me or for Sam. I'm doing this for kids who are still in the fight. I'm doing this for kids who are going to be in the fight, for their families, their parents, their siblings. And we can make things a little better, a little easier for them. And it's going to take research money. It's going to take money to organizations that support these families. And so I'd ask you, if you can, take a look at the link that's at the top of the description for this video. It's for Alex's Lemonade Stand, which is a great organization that does both of those things. They fund research and they support families on the front line in their cancer fight. If you've already seen that page, share this. When you share it, tell your personal story about how this story is affecting you so that it resonates with your friends. Guys, we really appreciate it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.